Okay, and we're back with our final just quick lecture on how to print to PDF from CAD. So what I'm looking at here, say, is the finished drawing of your project. So I have all the line work in there, the hatching, the circles, everything is drawn there. I also have my name, the class name, and the section and the assignment number down here. Now, one thing I need to show you is text real quick to show you how to add your name in there. So I have a text box here in this file, but let me show you how to make one from scratch. So I'm going to go up to text right here and click on the little down arrow, and I'm going to select multi-line text. Now I'm going to click just somewhere down here. Like I can place it later exactly, but I'll put it right about here. Okay, and I'm going to make a box. So I clicked upper left. Now I'm going to bottom right. Okay, now it's asking me to type. So I'm going to type Kevin Architectural Software 1, section number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to put assignment number 1, drawing practice, or whatever I formally called this assignment, but something like that. Now watch what happens here. It says, oh, hey, that looks pretty good. The size of it looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to click off in space. Okay, it's tiny. All right. So let me show you how to change that. I'm going to go in and double click on my text box. So now I'm in the text box and I can edit things again. And now I'm going to select everything in here. I'm going to go up to my toolbar and I'm going to play around with either this right here. This is text height. So right now it's set to 3/16. I'm going to put 0.25 inch and hit enter. A little bigger. Let's try 0.5 inch and hit enter. That looks pretty decent, actually. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, now I put 0.5 inch, okay, for my drawing. Okay, now let me just zoom out here. Okay, 0.5 inch isn't big enough. All right. So you'll see when you click on here and I go and highlight that, it looked like it was big enough, but it actually wasn't. So let me just put in 2 inch and hit enter and click off in space. That's looking better. Okay, so a good way to check it would be to change the height and then get out of the text box completely and take a look. So I'm going to go back in there. I'm going to select everything. And the last thing I want to do here is just change it to a different font, something that looks a little more respectable. I'll just pick Verdana here, but you can choose what you want instead of that weird kind of syntax look. Got my height set to 2 inches. I'll click off in space. Okay, so there I have a nice drawing. I got the text set nice, and this looks pretty good, and I'm ready to print. Now for you, depending on how big you drew this initial circle, because I didn't give you any dimensions. All I wanted you to do was sort of recreate the drawing at a proportion that seems to reflect the drawing that I attached in the assignment sheet. So yours could be 50 feet across. Okay. It could be, 60 feet high or something like that. And if that's the case, then your text is going to need to be, whatever, 6 feet in height or something like that to make sure you can see it when this is 50 feet long. Okay, so that's text. That's something you're going to have to sort of kind of trial and error. But once I click on that text box after I make it, really concern yourself just with this first part up here. There's just the text height and the font. You can bold it if you want. It's up to you. You can play around with that stuff, and you can play around with some of this other formatting. I would keep it left aligned though. But you kind of, some of this stuff probably looks familiar because it kind of looks like a Word document or something like that. So that's adding the text onto the drawing. Now let's print it. Okay, so I'm going to go up to the big A up here and go to print, or you can click Control P like print. In CAD, they always call it plot. Okay, so I'm just going to click print. I just clicked the print, right? I didn't even select anything else in there. I just did print. I can always go up to plot. I'm going to the same spot, but I'll just click the print right here. So here's my print command right here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the printer right here. First, I'm going to go under print plotter area, and I'm going to change the printer to Adobe PDF right here. Okay. It's going to print to an Adobe PDF. It's currently set to a letter page, and that's fine. That would work just fine. Here's that letter page, 8.5 by 11. Okay, plot area, what to plot. Okay, so if you look at these, there's display, extents, limits, window. What I want to do for this particular plot is just do window. So as soon as I click on window, it's going to take me back to the screen to make a window around what it is I want to print. So I'm going to go to window, and I want to say, hey CAD, print this. So I'm making a box around my drawing with some space around it. I'm not cutting anything off. I'm not doing something like this where I'm cutting the text off, or I'm not doing something like this where I'm cutting part of the drawing off. I'm encircling the whole drawing, clicking. Okay, now it takes me back. So the window has been set. All right, now I can always check the window by clicking this button. So I have it set what to plot window. I've made the window. I can check the window right here. Yep, that window looks good. And I'm just going to sort of trace right near it, sort of in the same spot. I'm back to my plot controls, and I'm going to click center the plot. So that'll put my window right in the middle of the drawing. And I'm also going to make sure fit to paper here is checked. Okay, so that's pretty much it. But the last thing I want to do is make sure I'm set to, say, a portrait drawing orientation. Now, I'd rather do a portrait than a landscape, because this looks like a square, but almost looks like a tall square. So maybe it's not quite square, but it's a little more, there's a little more height to it. So, well, my window file, my window area definitely does, because I have also grabbed the text down here. So it already has more of a portrait orientation. So that's how I want to position it on the page. And I'm going to hit OK. So it's printing right now. It's asking me where would I like to save it. So I'm just going to put, I'm going to put this right on the desktop in my folder for the class, Fall 2020, Arc Software 1. Technically, we're in week 3, but I'll save it in week 2 because that's where I did everything. And I'll just call this Kevin Kinney assignment 1 drawing. Okay. Usually at the end of each file, I put a V01 for version 1, so that if I ever do another print, I can call it version 2, version 3, version 4. In CAD, you're going to be printing quite a bit, so that would be a good naming technique. So I'm just going to hit save. Okay, created the PDF. Here it is, open in Adobe Acrobat, and I'm just going to do Control-0, and I can see everything in there. Looks a little strange in some of these hatching and things, but I guarantee you that will print correctly. That'll print just solid black. Yeah. But that looks pretty good. That would be a successful assignment 1, and then you would just submit this file to the Teams page to turn it in. Okay, please hit me up with any questions you may have.